This is the GTN Show. Welcome. This week we're going to be discussing swimming technologies. We're going to be looking at some indoor training as well as altitude training.
Yeah, and we also have the announcement of the winners for our Park Tool competition, and we're going to be discussing the cost of triathlon and getting your views. Right, let's talk about altitude training. We hear athletes talking about it a lot. Many of the top pros train at altitude. Some live at altitude and then train at low altitude. And others try to emulate that with altitude tents, even ceiling rooms. But really, why? And does it have an advantage on our performance?
Well, I think before we go any further, we should look at the theory behind it. So when you're at altitude, there's less oxygen in the air because there's less pressure. So your body's automatically working harder to carry oxygen than it would have been before. And when you're training, that's exacerbated. So then your body has to adapt to this. And basically, it makes more red blood cells. So you've got more hemoglobin, so you can carry more oxygen, or basically the same amount of what you'd be getting at sea level. And then once your body has adapted, it should feel as you would at sea level. And when you come back down though, that's when the advantage is, because you've still got those red blood cells, they don't just disappear. So you still have more ability to carry more oxygen. And in theory, either training and racing is easier, or you can go faster.
And of course, if you are racing at altitude, then it makes sense to go to altitude, train at it so you're prepared for those conditions. But Heather, I know you've trained at altitude a bit in the past. What's your experience of it?
Yeah, I mean, the training at altitude is hideous. It's so hard because, when you first get there, you take a few days easy because your body really is adapting, and just even walking upstairs, you're out of breath. But then I quite like it because you're naturally able to push yourself harder in a way already, because it's hard. If you're just trying to hit the same times you're hitting back at home, you're already training harder, and then you're getting that effect. And for us, it took a lot of experimenting to work out the right length that you have to spend there to be able to get that benefit, and then also the right time to come down, because when you come down there is a period when you don't feel very good as well. So it's very personal, and it takes quite a lot of experimenting.
Well, clearly altitude training places quite a big demand on the body and a lot of stress, so it shouldn't be underestimated, and actually you should allow yourself a lot of time to adapt to it before you push on in your training. But aside from our own personal experiences, we still hear it time and time again. Is altitude training worth it? Does it really work? Well, there has actually been a mega study into this recently, and on possibly the most interesting people, Sherpas.
Yeah, I mean, for the normal person, summiting something like Everest is a massive feat. It's hugely demanding on the body. And as you rise up with altitude, you're going to need more oxygen. So pretty much anyone would need oxygen to be topped up. And tests show that as you go with altitude, you have less oxygen in your body, and therefore you end up with less energy. But bizarrely and very interestingly, the study has actually proven it measured the energy found in the Sherpas' muscles as they went up through altitude by measuring the ATP that was found there. And it's shown to actually increase as the altitude increased.
So they get more energy as the oxygen reduces. That's fascinating. It is an absolutely fascinating study, and it's kind of a one of its kind. It's been performed by Professor Mike Grocott and his team. And they literally were taking blood samples and muscle biopsies on the side of Everest.
Must be quite hard to get blood out when you're that cold, your veins must be shrunk away.
And in a tent, not a laboratory or anything, which is crazy. But they have noted that there's still a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, are the Sherpas, do they have an enhanced oxygen efficiency, or are they actually, some sort of special conservation of energy going on there? Still a lot to be answered there.
Well, I mean, what we do know is that altitude training has a benefit. You've just got to learn how to use it right for yourself and how to time it and how to train there. But I think maybe it's time we went and did our own investigation. I think some nice sunny mountains somewhere.
Yeah, let's go for the mountains, not the altitude tents. Right, first bit of news this week, and we have been fortunate enough to ride around on the superbike, the P5X from our partner Cervelo, and they have taken it up a level and partnered with the supercar brand Lamborghini to launch their limited edition P5X. Just take a look at this.
Well, apparently the lucky Lamborghini Academy drivers have actually been riding around on Cervelo bikes for a while. I don't know that it was P5Xs, but there's already a good link between the brand Cervelo and Lamborghini. So apparently it was a natural fit. Now, interestingly, there's only going to be 25 of these bikes available. We're not sure to who. It says globally, but whether it's going to be purely to pros or whether it's going to be to some very rich businessman, we don't know. But the unique thing is each bike is going to have its number stamped on the back of the seat post. It's quite cool.
Right, whilst we're on the subject of cool technology, check out this swimming device from SwimR. It's a holographic heads-up display for swimmers that attaches to your swimming goggles, and any pair of goggles, not a specific pair. Essentially shows all your swimming data, how fast you're going, how far you've been, on a clear display that sort of just floats in front of your eyes.
Does sound pretty cool. Well, they've developed this technology working alongside Sony and using the Sony Smart Eye technology. And they've also collaborated with swimmers and triathletes from around the world. So it's still very much in that development stage, but it's looking pretty cool.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
So there's a first for Ironman in North America. They've just announced it's going to be a relay format at a full distance Ironman. It's Mont Blanc who are going to be hosting this, and you can enter either 2 or 3 members in your team. And entry's actually open today, Wednesday the 14th of March.
Yeah, and something that makes this even more interesting is the fact that Mont Blanc is almost full. It's already got over 200 entrants, in excess of their total entry number last year.
Well, I mean, it's going to surely encourage more people. The first, one of my first 2 experiences doing triathlon were actually in a relay. First, I did the swim leg, and then I did a bike leg, and then eventually I got the courage to put it together. So I know that the race director has said in his press release that he's really hoping that it will have that effect, and it will make it just more accessible to people who have been put off by the amount of training or the equipment that you need to do a full one. So it's got to be good for the sport. There's been a pivotal moment in triathlon the last few days when Super League and the ITU have actually signed a memorandum of understanding. And it's great to see, these 2 bodies coming together with separate races at different times in the year, and they've agreed to look at what's best for triathlon, what's best for the athletes, trying to get more audience engaged and to grow the sport in the same direction.
Yeah, I also wonder whether this has got anything to do with the same athletes trying to do both series, the Super League and ITU series. And I did hear on the grapevine that there's been some tricky timing between events in the calendar this year, so perhaps this is a move towards slightly better coordination in the events.
Last week, we heard some tragic news from South Africa when triathlete Malengi Gwala was attacked by 3 men whilst out on his mountain bike in the early hours of the morning in the Durban area. Now, both of his legs were severely damaged, leaving him needing extensive surgery.
Yeah, the triathlon community has really come together on this one, though, offering support and raising funds for his surgery and his rehab. Even from professional triathlete and his friend Henry Schoeman has sent him a nice little tweet. But it's quite staggering, actually, the amount of support he's had over his crowdfunding page and the amount of funds that he's received. He's already at around 650,000 rand, which is around $55,000 and £40,000.
Well, I'm sure that's going to go a great way to helping Malengi with his rehab. Right, let's move on to some indoor training. Well, actually, this time we're going to be looking at indoor racing. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that Lionel Sanders is involved in this. This, though, is the CVR World Cup. It's going to be held in Los Angeles. So the athletes are actually going to have to go to the event. It's the 24th and 25th of March, but it's still going to be virtual reality cycling. So Lionel is admitted that he's going to line up against actual cyclists. Having said that, he is still on his turbo trainer, so he's going to be in his comfort zone, and then they'll be racing it on their turbos, I guess, next to each other.
It's time for our Park Tool competition, and we have 5 lucky winners to announce. First up is Dennis Wiedenberg.
We have Adrian Betty.
We have Merlin Dorner.
As well as Andrew Mikosh.
And finally, Tim Sievers. So congratulations, these Park Tool products will be on their way to you very shortly.
And now it is the GTN Tribe when we feature your club on our map. And we're really hoping to cover the whole of the world. And this week, we're heading down to Australia. It's a club from Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia. And this one has been sent in by Ben Cobra.
Yeah, this sounds like quite a fun club. They actually link up with 4 other local clubs in the area to run sort of weekly races or monthly races, depending on the time of the year. So they almost have like bragging rights between the clubs. They have like little club championships where it's just sounds great, really.
Well, interestingly, you might have actually noticed we mentioned an athlete called Lorin Parker a few weeks ago in one of the shows in the race news, because she was an able-bodied athlete last year and sadly had an accident on the bike and is now paralysed and is now racing for Australia in the wheelchair category. And she's already competed in 2 World Cups, and I think she's qualified for the Commonwealth Games. Well, this was her, I think still is, her home club. And they've actually set up a foundation, the Lorin Parker Foundation, to help raise money. And a lot of their races and events also go towards local community as well. So it's a really lovely story around that.
Yeah, it does sound like a fantastic club, actually, with sort of a very fun atmosphere, and just all the races are about coffees and barbecues after, really.
Suits me.
As you can see in the photos, they look like they're having a great time at their events, and
Well, they've certainly got kit that you wouldn't miss.
wow, yeah, look at that.
I love those
Fantastic.
colours.
Well, do please keep sending in your GTN tribes using the hashtag GTN Tribe.
It's time for race news, and there was some hot competition down in Australia at the Mooloolaba ITU World Cup, and it was quite tough surf conditions. I think it was quite a big swell, which actually played into the hands of the Australians, especially Emma Jeffcoat in the women's race. She comes from a surf lifesaving background, so led the swim and came out with a bit of a margin. But there was a return to ITU racing for Vanessa Fernandez, who was a star of ITU triathlon with numerous World Championship titles, but hasn't actually raced ITU since 2008. And
yeah, I mean, I actually remember her from back in the day, and she just used to win everything. If she was on the start list, you knew she pretty much had it.
well, it didn't play into her hands at this race, and I think the swim had a big part to do with that because the surf was really tough. But anyway, Emma Jeffcoat went on to lead stayed with the front pack on the bike and led into T2, and then she didn't really look back. She ran away to take the win. Second place this time went to Kristen Casper after that frustrating fourth and that sprint finish she had at the Abu Dhabi World Cup. So USA taking second, and then third, it was Angelica Olmo of Italy.
Wow, over on the men's side, it was Max Stapley that led the 30 men out of the ocean swim. And then onto the bike, it sort of seemed like they're all testing each other, a number of breakaways, but nothing that really kind of succeeded. So they came onto the run pretty much together. And then it was Matt Hauser and Richard Murray that seemed to steam ahead and get a little bit of a gap. Richard Murray took the win overall, Matthew Hauser in second, and then in third, it was Matthew McElroy. Right now for the inaugural Ironman 70.3 at Bariloche in Argentina.
San Carlos de Bariloche.
Oh,
Bariloche.
Oh.
Bariloche. And quite an interesting person on the start list for this one. We had Terenzo Bozzoni just a week after his win at Ironman New Zealand and after setting a new course record in New Zealand. So I think quite a lot of people, including his competitors, were probably wondering how he's going to cope just a week after an Ironman and after all the travel. But he was in the lead on the bike with Igor Amarelli and ex-pro cyclist Kenneth Peterson. But then again, I'm sure they were hoping his wheels were going to fall off on the run, but they didn't. He continued on to a blistering run split to take the win overall. In second, it was Igor Amarelli, and in third, Kenneth Peterson.
Well, on the women's side, it looked like it was going to be a race between just the two athletes, Alicia Kay and Didi Griesbauer. They had a lead for the swim and the bike and had about 7 minutes going into T2. But Pamela Oliveira of Brazil had an absolutely storming run. She ran 6 minutes quicker than Alicia Kay, but Alicia Kay took the overall win. And just a minute behind was Pamela Oliveira of Brazil, and then Didi Griesbauer hung on for third.
Now for the caption competition where you get your chance to win a GTN swimming cap. Last week we had a photo of James Kunama ahead of the Durban Ultra Triathlon race in South Africa, looking a little bit grumpy.
I think he's going to be even more grumpy now we've used his picture in our caption comp. But that aside, we had some great suggestions as usual, and we've got a runner-up this week from Ken Sang. And Ken wrote, "This stylised Instagram filter really doesn't flatter my curves."
Well, the winner was Adrian Betty, who said, "Who did you say was on the Cervelo test team?" Now, if you didn't know already, and you probably should know if you've watched any of GCN, now Dan Lloyd from GCN used to ride for the Cervelo test team. He likes to tell us that as well.
Yeah, it's hard to miss that one.
Yeah, well, we've got some really good photos for this week, and we picked out this one of Richard Murray kissing a seal.
It's very friendly. It's a very sweet picture, isn't it?
I think Murray's maybe sealed the deal there.
Hob. Yes, Mark.
Well, yeah, send in your caption suggestions in the comments below.
It's time for the weekly poll. And last week we asked you, why do triathletes really crash so much?
We don't.
Well, some people agree with you there, Mark. Anyway, the results are in from the poll, and coming in 5th place, it was indoor training, with 8% of you thinking that was the reason. 11% people thought it was because triathletes ride TT bikes. Next was 16% spending less time on the bike in 3rd. Second, it was because triathletes ride solo, with 19%. And the majority go with Mark. 45% say it isn't true.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, actually, another poll that was being quite interesting recently was one about what is the worst thing about triathlon. Now, in the comments section below, we noticed quite a few people alluding to the fact that triathlon's pretty expensive. And I've got to be honest, I sort of agree. If you go to enter any event these days, they're pretty expensive. Whether that is just due to the cost of things for the events company, I'm not sure. But we thought we'd bring this to you guys. Let's make a poll of this. Do you think triathlon is becoming too expensive? Yes or no? You can enter that poll by clicking above Heather's head. But most importantly, we want to hear your thoughts on this. So please leave your comments in the comment section below.
It's time for the GTN Pain Cave, and our first one in is this from Louis Asprecht with lovely looking Bianchi.
You're a big fan of Bianchis, aren't you?
I am. I do love the colour. I think it's quite GTN-esque as well.
Well, you actually also wondered why it had a red tyre on, and there's probably some of our viewers asking the same. That is a turbo-specific tyre.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and they've got a Zwift setup going on in front of them. Nice fan. I can't quite see what is going on their screen next to them, but 2 screens, that's just being greedy, isn't it?
Well, I reckon it's going to be pretty hot in there because there's a sweat catcher, there's 2 bottles on the bike, and that big fan. Or a big workout coming up.
Okay, next one from Eric Gu, and they are on an Avanti, which isn't a very common bike. I believe it's from New Zealand, that brand.
It's like another turbo-specific tyre.
Yes, so they've got their turbo set up in what looks like their office with a piano in the background.
And some trainers ready for maybe a brick session, you never know.
As you do, they should set up the turbo alongside the piano. They could practice both at once. Not sure how that would end.
Maybe not. Yeah. Anyway, our final one is in from a Waxy Mud.
This is epic.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I mean, 2 fans, 2 screens, and like a bike sort of elliptical thing.
Yeah,
it's like a cross trainer.
There's the arm bits, cross trainer. Weights bench, lots of free weights,
weighing scale, cords.
Sure
I believe that's a Quota bike on the turbo, and then I think if I zoom in, that's a B-twin bike that you get from Decathlon. So there we go. Some good investigation going on there. But yeah, we love looking at your pain cave, seeing where all that horrible hard work goes on indoors. So please keep sending in your pain caves using the hashtag GTN Pain Cave.
Well, that's it for this week's GTN show. And as we've mentioned throughout the show, we love hearing your thoughts, your opinions, or any questions you might have. So make sure you let us know in the comment section below.
And if you have any training-specific questions, then we have actually started a Triathlon Training Explained show, which is going to be bi-weekly, powered by Training Peaks. We're basically answering all your training questions. And you can see our first one of this week by clicking here.
And if you haven't yet done so, and you want to see more GTN videos, then just hit the globe to subscribe. And a few days ago, I did an investigation into barefoot running. If you want to see the results on that, there's a video just here.